the next cut. That's it.
All right.
All right.
Back to recording. We're
So,
recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Back to reality.
Back to reality. There goes Greg.
Oh, where's my hat?
To reality. Yeah, I know. Well, you didn't say anything in the chat.
Oh,
That's it. That's right. Next order. Next month.
I guess
Yeah, we've got the website now too, so we'll just do a bulk.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, Ray, have you got the other hat? Put it on Ollie.
Oh, the other hat.
Yeah, there's like all three.
Hat club? Bit of a shift in momentum. See how I go. Oh yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, they're nice caps. It's like
That's
nice.
it. It's like we had an ad break and we just joined Michael on his cult. That's it.
Sometimes you wear hats and they're like, they're too loose or they're too firm. This one's just about right.
It's just right. It's like the Goldilocks hat.
Got that nice like crispy.
Goldie hat.
Like,
Yeah, Christmas. Yeah,
It's like it's like bounces in.
Yeah.
Not bad
Steady,
hat.
man.
So going back to
George Hotz, man. That's it. It's George Hotz apparel. We should send that to him, eh?
Yeah.
The comma.
That's cool.
It's got the hoodie.
But yeah, Roy, I watched like two thirds of that movie.
Strange Days things.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like this movie. Okay, so like just get this movie. Recently, I've just been going through science fiction movies and like books, right? For the past, because they are all coming true, right? I mean, like it's strange, right? I mean, like
Not Skynet.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, like I don't know, who knows? I mean, like you look at
Skynet's pure fantasy.
yeah, totally. I mean, like SpaceX is not Skynet, and like they're not like putting satellites out across the entire world to turn into a giant supercomputer. They're definitely not doing
Just
that.
coincidence.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with it.
Those Bond movies too.
Yeah, it's totally not building Skynet. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know. It's like Neuromancer. If you look at Neuromancer, it's like like the entire book is like about like obviously you got the emotional AI and you've got this logical AI, and it's bringing those two things together, right? And then I was watching the Stranger Days movie, and like, oh my god, it's okay. So the movie is about this this guy who basically has a very good EEG that uses like quantum processing, blah blah blah, that scans your mind so you can pull out your whatever you're looking at the time, right? And he, in essence, right, he's
He's a drug
basically
dealer.
he's basically he's kind of like drug dealer, but he's selling like sex memories.
Yeah, this is the Cyberpunk 2077 brain dance. Yeah, if we can get these like, black market BDs.
What about it? But this what's fascinating? I've really seen like it's got these it's like the different themes in it are so fascinating. So you got this guy is doing this, and it's kind of this shady thing. Got these other people like, oh, don't worry about everything, man. It's just the end of the world. It's just the end of the world, man. Just wait for the AI to come. Everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And like that's like one guy. And then there's this other side of it, which is I never even thought about with like this memory recording thing. Was like, so in this like world, basically like like women are completely exploited because like men have the memory and they sell the memory, right? And like I was thinking about that, and like I was thinking like just one element of it, and the other thing that's happening in the background of it, I haven't seen all of it, but it's basically a civil rights movement being led by like, it's very American, like very like Malcolm. I really like Malcolm X. I'm reading like one of his like this autobiography by him. He's like super good. I recommend it. But it's like very Malcolm X, very like American civil rights movement happening at the same time, which was of course the concept of that obviously is around slavery, right? And then obviously like with these memories which are owned by these people, these BCI things, and so they're going and they're like, the premise of the movie is like the guy's a detective, right? And there's this crime of this guy who's basically like, I don't know how to put it, is a sexual predator, and he's recording the memories and selling them, right? And like and like really what is that? It's like, it's really, if you think about that, it's like throughout human history, I'm like maybe it's in my place to say, but but obviously throughout human history, like when things get really rough, like women have always still owned their bodies, right? They've always been able to own their bodies and like
privacy at least, like I'll have tried it.
They had the choice around like one of the things that women have had is like some level of autonomy around sex. and the ability to use sex. Like for example, I don't know, maybe
I don't know if that's
I'm
true.
not sure that's true.
That's not true. That's become more of a thing in recent years. That was never the case.
maybe that's true, but maybe
Education,
if I think like prostitution, right, is like not a job that men do. I would
It
say.
was-
Have you seen? There was a Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolo. It was like, it's too big. But you're right. It's like largely a,
Well, it's definitely something
think
that I know you're right. Look, like I suppose that's true, and like there's lots I don't know about that. Like it just strikes me that like this seems like complete ownership, right? Do you know what I mean? It's like
it's
like,
a different angle because it's kind of like you're able to record, right, just that experience, right, and able to then, like, I guess, sell you lose your sovereign identity, you lose your morphological freedom of sharing that privacy of your entire morphological freedom.
Yes.
Which I think will bring about a new layer of protection. Right? You thought condoms were a great industry. Just wait till you get the EMP, the personalized EMP that just like shocks every technology in the body, and then you're good to go.
dude, 100%. Like I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure Mark Zuckerberg's a really nice guy, and he's making that right now. But it's called digital identity. No, but or maybe WorldCoin. But now, but like I like watching it because I was thinking something. Oh, it's so cool. Like record my entire consciousness. But it also means I'm going to be able to record my entire consciousness, but maybe I won't own it or something like that. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
maybe I'll be able to record the experiences I have of someone else and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why we need Bo here, man. He'd be like, "Oh man, you can just ZK that stuff," but it's not that easy, right?
No, it definitely isn't. But it's like
ZK sex. It's gonna be a whole new thing. It's gonna be so good.
it's like terrifying. You know what I mean? It's like
Have sex, have zero knowledge about it. You know, it's like,
Zero knowledge proof. There it is.
look, like we're looking at the research on the EEG stuff, right? And like one of the lead researchers who's doing a bunch of stuff around scanning parts of the brain, like a lot of the funding is coming from the military. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the funding is coming from the military. Like, what is the bet? What is your bet that like in the military right now they've had this stuff like because you are basically able to do brain to text now with implants and relatively close to EEG. What is the bet that like military installations like 100% have EEGs and are just like scanning prisoners' brains for information?
yeah, man. Why torture? We can just
Yeah,
chuck it
well,
up.
they're definitely using it for information extraction.
I mean, it's probably more ethical, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's like better than waterboarding, I suppose. But like,
Yeah.
Well, what if you could What if you could like just inject the idea that someone's being waterboarding? Like, think of all the water savings.
Jeez.
dude,
Use any water.
think about
Yeah,
the, like,
exactly.
way
It's like you
torture
got like
someone.
all the cells will have to like train themselves to not think about elephants, and then there's, like the elephants just keep coming up. Like you try to protect your secrets that way.
You're just getting run down by elephants constantly.
It's like, no.
It's like, stop running me over with elephants. I'll tell you anything.
I said not to think about elephants.
It'd be like the Freddy Krueger movie. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it'd be like Freddy Krueger.
Inception style, man.
Instead of
It'd be level.
waterboarding, they just like send Freddy Krueger after you on like a dreamscape. You know? And it's like,
Nah, man, it's gonna make things so much smoother.
Is that the one where the dog pees with a flamethrower?
I
Jeez, I gotta see that.
Seen it. I've just seen the Rick and Morty version.
Dog being flamethrower.
Yeah, if it isn't, then tell me about that movie.
Yeah, let's go. We got to mid journey that right now. You know. That's what we need, man. Yeah, this is what it's called. Like combining generative AI with EEG, right?
Yeah.
Not only will your
would be
dreams just
trippy.
become even more, I guess, surreal if you're actually able to do that as an injection, right? Input.
Input.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
Output's great. I mean, that's what happened. Like
Read is
that's
good.
that's what everyone wants to see, right? They're just privately anyway, because they already seen it. They just want to rewatch it.
that's true. I mean, like the right layer is in the visual layer as well. It's just not fast. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, dude. So many layers. But, no, you're right. Like the generative AI, like, yeah, it's being used like so. Like we were talking about the AlphaFold stuff, and then like looking at like how they're using of EEGs to create noise. I never thought about that, man.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think that like here's a use case like. There isn't enough noise in EEG signals, so we'll use generative AI to create like statistical noise that is like
Oh, that's the paper you
Indecipherable.
showed me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
this is so like it's like basically like you have like anyway like you have like
I know.
yeah it's like you can basically use it to like look at EEGs a lot better but Yeah, I don't know. It's like yeah, no, super.
You haven't like folding at home. That's what people used to do. Like, it
I
helps
used to- I
support
used to- I was
size.
silver.
That's so good.
Silver on folding.
Oh wow, there you go. It's like
It was, do I want to spend my time doing that, or
Yeah.
do I want to mine some Bitcoin?
God damn it.
It was folding at home. I had to get silver.
God
man. I had to
damn
get silver.
And now you got alpha fold. Like, God damn it, why can't I do that? Where's my Bitcoin?
Oh wait, what's folding at home? What's folding at home? I don't know.
Oh yeah. Did you do it, Roy? Or no?
PlayStation. Yeah.
No. It's different. isn't
Folding
it?
at home was this. It was this like
I ran it on a PlayStation.
Oh, you ran on a
Yeah.
PlayStation?
Wow. You
Okay.
ran it on the PlayStation.
Later down the stack.
In fact, that was what they Sony pushed folding at home because it actually beat the
Xbox.
Intel whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
So the what was it? Not PowerPC. It was a whatever that thing was with the
Pentium, like.
Core 2 Duo,
shit.
Pentium. What was the one?
Yeah.
Pentium
Pentium
4.
4, yeah.
Woo.
What were you running at the time?
I was running a Core 2 Duo.
oh the cell processor. That's
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Core 2 Duo.
Yeah,
Cell processor.
1.6 gigahertz. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a yeah.
Overclock it,
That's
get
yeah.
up to 1.7. That's the thing. Yeah, your liquid cooling.
Yeah.
Ah yes.
You get
That's
like
it.
flashing lights and your fans going everywhere.
Net burst. Yes.
I don't remember that shit.
They used to post it on overclockers.
That's
stuff
it.
over you.
Yeah, my friends got like water cooling systems. Like, yeah, man, yeah, check it out. It's just like a car, you know. It's like this is 100% people comparing cars, like the nerd version or something. It was funny.
Yeah.
So folding at home was effectively that. It was like community project. I can't remember what university it was by, but like this was back like what 2008 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you used to run this program on your PC, and it would effectively determine like how to solve like folding for certain proteins, and it would have some kind of communicative network that would communicate that back, and you'd publish your results. I guess, yeah, in not too different a way conceptually to how something like Bitcoin would work. But all the reward you get was the badge on the website that would say like you're a certain ranking, and you'd be like, and there'd be like a leaderboard, and it would tell you who's running it the most. And there's probably a large crossover between, because there was a whole bunch of people back then just looking for stuff to run on their computer like, while they were sleeping, right? So there's probably a large crossover between all those folding at home people
And then now the AlphaFold comes out and it's just like, yep, we're
It's very
that was
very anarchist.
This was before like
Reinforcement
commodity cloud
learning.
computing and stuff, right? So it's like in terms of the percentage,
counter-argument.
the percentage of computing that was actually in the hands of individuals versus centralized providers was much higher.
You know, 100%. Because I feel like this ties back into like, if we think about the cognitive architecture of the future, to what extent is there the centralized cloud computing companies that are doing the GPU compute versus a more decentralized system for doing compute? Like, do we have AlphaFold, or do we have like, I don't know, DeepMind?
It's LLM at home, man. Like, yeah.
Do you reckon it's LLM at home?
It's freaking tiny boxes and freaking you'll be like mine some flop coin for providing compute. Right? No, this is all the strategy, man. Your AI wife is going to do all the work for you. Like, I'm just saying.
I think it's interesting because I think clearly like obviously the data is pretty important now. Like I'm not going to take my like memories and put them in like it's a bad idea. I'm not putting it in Google. It's a bad idea. But it's just a very bad idea. Definitely not give it to Mark Zuckerberg. But I'm sure he's a nice guy. But like I would want to probably keep that like stored by myself.
Private.
But the cloud computing companies, I feel like they're still got a very like Oliver, you know more about this, you worked at AWS, but like they're getting specialized GPUs and they have economies of scale to get like incredibly like an incredibly good GPU stack, especially when there's a shortage of materials for those important pieces. Like,
NVIDIA is aiming for 500,000 H100s this quarter.
And Tesla
Dojo's coming online, but it can't come online fast enough because they're still buying NVIDIA. They're paying them like $150 million. Like
aren't they slated to be
every
like
single month.
100 teraflops by October this year? Something like
Jesus.
that. Yeah.
20 petaflops is a human being.
Petaflops, yes.
No, teraflops. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
20,
petaflops.
how much is
20 petaflops.
How much?
Roughly.
How much was the thing that we're just talking about? Sorry, I forget things sometimes. But
Nah, like you can probably have like a petaflop in a tiny box. Like that's what we're aiming for.
I feel like we don't understand enough about the brain.
Oh, the human brain is like around 10 to 15 to 20 petaflops worth, apparently.
It's got to be
Depending on
more
what you're
efficient
doing.
than a tiny box.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one component.
Yeah. But I think that the tiny box aspect is quite interesting just around the, obviously, like, my brother's also super into this stuff, and he has an idea around the tiny box thing, which is just around, so you go back to earlier days of the internet, and this is just me regurgitating stuff that is his idea, just to be clear. But like you used to have like, you know, the internet, then you had the semantic web. And so like kind of initially with how data was distributed on the internet, they thought that, you know, you have like this read layer of HTTP, like, I'm not an expert at this shit, but then you'd have like a data layer where it was very easy to go and like, instead of like having all your databases in a Postgres database or something like that, with Google Cloud, you would have this semantic thing on your website where like you would put a query for the internet and you'd be able to go grab different pieces of information for when you're doing different sorts of AI processes, right? Which obviously like that didn't happen, but I think in like 2010 era, like Tim Berners-Lee came out with something called Solid, which is in essence like taking that concept and making these pods for personal data, which allowed use of that semantic technology. So that's so when I say semantic, it's like all the information that gets stored about you. So let's say like Michael is Michael. Michael has hat. Michael has jacket. Michael is man. Michael is in Australia. Like all this information, right?
Like prologue.
You know, Michael likes red cordial. Like
That's what Orphanolf was doing as well, right? Yeah, yeah.
Right. It's
Symbolic games.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's like so it's like I write a definition of who I am, or like we have like shared definitions of these things based on the English language, based on those words in the English language and stuff like that, right? And all of the information about me is stored in that sort of format, so that and then there are permissionings around how that the data is stored in a graph format. So let's say that like, okay, like Michael, like let's say like the English language is something that's public domain. Everyone's allowed to understand the English language, right? Which we are, right? Because like everyone's allowed to understand that. So that's public. We're all allowed to use that, right? And then we go layer down. There's other sorts of public domain information we're allowed to use. And then we go down and we have like private personal information, right? And then it might be like, I'm going to allow you guys to know that like I have a really cool haircut or something. I don't know. Like I'm going to allow everyone to understand this information about me. But when I go and talk to you, you can have the information from when we spoke recorded in another information layer that we both share permissions to, right? But when I speak by myself or when I think by myself, you do not have permission to that data unless I grant you access to that data.
Yeah.
And when I grant you access to the data, I'm only going to grant you access to that data for certain time periods. And then even when I speak, so it's like, it's not only like I'm giving you permission, I'm giving you permission to what I'm talking about temporally, so through time. You know, it's just a recreation of basically how we share information in the real world without computers. That's basically it.
Events and items. Yeah, it's like events-based permissions almost. Yeah.
How would you reinforce that? Because you could just...
Has to be for governments.
I'm sorry?
I think you need it, like, so... Also, this is, so like...
Because if I figure out that you have a cool hat...
Yep.
I could just write that down somewhere else.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair. But also, like...
It's not that scale, right?
It's not that scalable.
Yeah.
And I think...
It's like generative art.
And if you want to... Yet again, regurgitating my brother, but like what he would call it would be a knowledge banking system. So suppose we have a banking system today, and if you think about what banks are, they hold on to lots of like money. They have money with them. They transfer the money out. There are regulations about how you can't just take the money out of it. You know, money is just information. It's a form of values. Like all these things are just like these definitions and things about us are like information and values, right? And like you would, I think, store your own that information in a tiny box at home, right? And it had to be in a highly secure system. You could put it out onto like a third-party service, like a bank. You could, right? But they would have to have regulations, and like you can't really do this stuff without legal.
Yeah,
the real world matters.
It's a market failure otherwise, right? Because people can just be incentivized to leak that data, right? And there's got to be some way you can. Yeah, there's market failure. The government needs to step in to have the regulations.
But there's another layer to this. Is essentially like what happens right now is like it's the absolute opposite, right? I mean, like none of this information you even have access to, right? Like the way that Facebook was built around this concept. Like Facebook is this system, except that Mark Zuckerberg owns it, right? It's the opposite. So like Mark Zuckerberg knows what your favorite hat is. Mark Zuckerberg knows all this shit about you, right? but you have no access to like your little identity. He knows more about you than you know about yourself.
That's just the reality, because that information is worth money. And what's the economic incentive for someone to create a system by which you own your own data?
But that comes back. I mean, like, that's a completely fair point. But like,
It's got to be government.
it's got to be government. That's what the Magna Carta is.
Well, there's another angle to this as well. Like, I think the fact that AI agents can be decentralized, like pretty much scalable now, right? You can get your tiny boxes to build your own graph.
Read this stuff well. Yeah.
And so, look, the reason why it was so prohibitive, because back in the days, right, you can't just build out all these rules-based systems and spell like AI. It was just not humanly possible. They thought they were going to solve AI back in the 90s at Dartmouth. They thought like they were going to crack AGI at that by the end of that weekend.
I forgot this
but they were like, holy shit, they got to build out every single rule for all of that. They're just like, okay, maybe let's try a different method. But now you can actually combine that approach with what you can now do with LLMs, kind of like with AlphaFold, right? In approaching that, even though AlphaFold's reinforcement learning, but now with generative AI, you can do that even better to discover all those branches. You won't have 100%, you'll still have some hallucinations, but you can do the validation level when it actually comes useful. So decentralized reinforcement, human feedback, you can still do that on a level.
No, but you're right. So like, it's so it's
So
like
building out every branch. Yeah.
it's like like there's a mutual so like these algorithms essentially making our data exponentially more valuable to us individually. So like the generative AI means that the input into a computer that we do now makes something that did not exist before. It means the input into the machine is more valuable. This data, because of these new systems, is becoming more complex, but it's also becoming more valuable. And so like
and it also feed into the knowledge graphs as well. Like it will help build that knowledge graph if you want to actually have your own version.
100%. And like, and if you think about like, I mean, for a start, from a country perspective, like, I mean, like this gets more valuable. Do you think it is so important for governments to take control of this information and take away from other people, give them access to it, but on a basis that isn't about control, but is about value?
Do we need the government still though? Like, what if we did it on a peer-to-peer basis? Right. I know, like the enforcement component. If like you're sharing it, they're leaking it, right, at the same time.
Is this where blockchains?
This is exactly. So this whole peer-to-peer system. Obviously, like you don't need blockchain for ZK proofs and things like that, but like there is a way that you could do it where, if you're using your AI agents that are powerful enough to actually build up those branches in the knowledge graph, you can like have pretty scalable ways to do that, and you're keeping all your versions, all your alignment in that box.
Oh, there's so many different aspects.
And you only share that component with other people with their own versions of the knowledge graph about you, right? At that point of transaction, and you do it in a ZK proof level. It doesn't have to be blockchain.
And like one aspect to this, right, is like, let's imagine that like the mobile phone came out, right? Apple brought out mobile phone. They made the App Store only available to internal developers, right? Now let's imagine that like all this AI data at the moment is only basically open to internal developers, right? So like Uber couldn't have been made if like the App Store was only made to internal developers, right? I mean, like that wouldn't be good for the phone companies, right? If you have a type of system that allows the next Mark Zuckerberg to step onto it and to build things for it, right? Because like they're not constrained by the fact that this information is siloed within different what that would mean is that there are larger benefits to society, but also like you could argue that like maybe not to monopolies, but to like smaller organizations, you would end up with like large benefits. Like an example I was given by Tim is around pathologies. If you consider pathology, you go to person microscope, look at microscope, they label the specimen label goes into machine learned, like we don't have to do this again, right? But what if they shared that information between the other pathologies, right? And they each had their own tiny box, right? And then they were all doing that with all their labels together. They actually have like mutual.
It's federated.
But they also have like an incentive towards collaborating versus competing.
That's right.
And so like I like. To me, like
that's BitTorrent, like it's like you seed because that way you can.
The reality is, everyone knows what happens in BitTorrent, though. No one seeds.
That's true.
Because it's like, what's the metric of success? You're getting your file, unless you've got a private network.
Exactly. But unless you can only participate in the network that you're seeding.
Yeah. Well, then you end up you're not ending up with like a large scale decentralized system. You're ending up with a trust network that's established, and only people can refer
And the
people
big
into
tech
trust
companies
network.
again.
Immediately, then you hit a fundamental limitation of
Centralization.
trust network to it's like, okay, like who determines who's eligible for the trust network, and how do we get new members into that trust network? And really, at a certain extent of a trust network, does the trust do exist? Like if you look at modern countries, right, they are to a certain extent trust networks.
Yeah, and to an extent,
how well does that scale?
I think there's some of the new ones, like because I don't want to say this, but yeah, I'm just saying, like torrent, right?
Yeah.
There's like a lot of ones where you share a certain amount, like that's the thing. That's the thing. It's, and it's built into the protocol.
Yeah, you've got to have a seating ratio.
Have a seating ratio. So you build that into the protocol itself, and so you're incentivized to do it, so that you can continue to use it. It's this is the holochain stuff that Nathan Waters was saying. They'll
always have the ability to like pay to get around the seating ratio, though.
This is a new system we're talking about with holochain. So this is the peer-to-peer, without the need for blockchain. But yeah, you're right. Like there's like existing architectures that you can get around it. But if the entire system is based on that.
Yeah. But like the kind of argument I have to that is like, this isn't just about like, it's not just about like sharing compute and these sorts of things. Like you sort of, like we were talking about this before, but some Meta came out with automation of software organization, right? Like across the entire economy, all repetitive jobs are going to be completely automated, right? And so basically like, how does competition work? Right? Competition works because you have a resource, right? And you get your organization, and you get everyone. You like work out how to get it, like a cookie cutter. You give everyone the cookie cutter and they click down the cookie cutter, right? Like people do repetitive jobs. They organize themselves around extracting resources from something. And they hide that information from other people so they can continuously extract a resource from something instead of like, it's like Google didn't really innovate once they had the search engine. I mean, like they innovated a bit, maybe the bad example, Telstra. I don't know, like Telstra is a monopoly. Like a lot of those things will change. Like maybe they're bad examples. They're probably bad examples. But I like basically like the idea. I suppose the idea I'm going with here is that basically I think a lot of jobs are going to be automated, right? And I think what that means is you're going to have to innovate very quickly, because most things that have been done will be done automatically by like AI, right?
In what time frame?
I think it's pretty fast.
This decade, man.
I don't think so. I think I think similar to like when cloud computing came out, you'll have a bunch of startups and like a bunch of new companies form that are inherently more efficient because of large language models. But if you look at most organizations, like their ability to adopt technology is far lagging the pace at which this technology comes out. So to expect that like somehow, large language models in general are going to be the exception to that, I think is not realistic.
I think there's components where this time is, we always say this time is different.
It's multiplied
but it's
by...
because it's the auto GPTs of the world. Like right now they don't work very well. But if you get something that is like works good enough, you don't need to have middle management. Yeah. Because it sort of delegates the tasks to actually do the shit.
And they can do things.
This is why the big organizations never move around, right? Because they're such a behemoth that they can't turn that ship around. Working for like 15 years of professional services, you always have an innovation division that has to do shiny stuff to stay relevant and be marketing pretty much, and actually say, hey, look, guys, we're doing stuff. But at the end of the day, like, you're not going to change the incentive structures how it works. Instead, right, all the good talent, they leave and create their own companies, and now they don't need the big teams to actually make that work. They have like these AI agents that can actually do the same shit that those big organizations can 24/7, right? Without that need.
Yeah. I just don't think, for certain organizations that are modularly constructed, where you could take particular components and say, I'm going to sublet this out and replace this with a large language model.
Yeah.
Yes.
Depends on what type of thing. Yeah.
Are there enough organizations that are not tightly coupled, that are modular enough to be able to make that kind of replacement? Because they're not going to be able to do it just in one swoop. They're going to have to do it in some kind of phased approach.
Like customer loyalty, like customer brand recognition and trust, like the hospital systems, right? Like, anything to do with, interpersonal relationships and skills. Like the human buyer is still there, right? Until we get the AI Java system to make our buying decisions. Yeah. But like, what sort of examples are you thinking, like in terms of hard to easy, like a spectrum?
I think it will be more like e-commerce and more like the brick and mortar stores, the ones that fail to adapt. They're the ones that will disappear. But I think that there'll be a whole wave of new companies that are where like this technology is just part of how they operate from day one, part of how they design their system. They design the entire way they operate to incorporate these technologies.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the companies that exist now are just too, they're going to be too slow to change and too slow to adopt it to be able to really radically change the way they do things.
Roy, do you have a list of like the top employment
just
type industries, like get down in occupations and in like occupations is a little bit challenging because you're like, look, you can create new occupations, but we're at a point where like, how are you going to retrain in time, right?
I mean, I can look it up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like is there? I think like top was like transport in the US or something like that.
Industries.
Trucks.
Truckers.
Like, isn't like it's like the Andrew Yang quote, right? Isn't truck driving the most popular American job in like 29 US states or something like that?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to have enough time to reskill, and how are they going to? You're gonna tell them a 50-year-old how to code, and if they teach them how to code, that's the worst advice to give right now.
Yeah, but then, then what are they going to do though? Because they got to do something.
Okay, I found
That's
something.
that's what we need. The freaking get your butthole scanned and get your UBI, man. That's what we need.
Buttholes.
All right, here we
Are
go.
they unique fingerprints?
Ah, I think so. Yeah, I'm sure it's like they call yourself a snowflake.
Jesus.
So here's the 25 most common jobs in America.
America.
Truck driver is going to be number one, right? It's one of the top ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
cashier. What? That's still around?
Wow, that's amazing.
Jesus, takes a while to automate, right?
Well, yeah, it's like well, like
Stock associate. What was the second one? Laborer.
complex organizations filled with
Food
people that
prep.
communicate in a certain way. What if you just like get a bunch of AI agents
Stocking
with how they
analysis.
communicate and just like run 10,000 iterations on different ways they could communicate to see how much more efficiently it could be run?
Yeah.
Oh, look, servers.
I reckon it's pretty fast.
Thought they were all in the cloud. What sorry, what were you saying about? Were you saying that you had language models, like for a hospital pathology, and you wanted to train? They each had their private data to train, and they didn't want to share that data. Is that what you're talking about?
No, so kind of the opposite. So it's like if one pathology has blood things,
Yeah.
and they label it. So it might be like, this is, I don't know, this is Epstein-Barr virus or something in your blood, right? And like they look from, and then they label that, right? And then that label they can put into a database, right? And so the microscope over time could automatically, without a human looking
So it's
at
training data,
it. Right, yeah. But then other pathologies also have training data.
but on the same model. So they got this thing.
They have a
already.
mutual incentive in order to...
Here it is.
There was this visualization of
Oh,
very
actually?
learning.
There it is.
Bro.
I already know about it.
Ah, dude.
Hey.
This is so, because, yeah, like it's, I was talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Oh yeah,
okay.
I was thinking the other one. Right, there was a visual capitalist one. That the Open AI. They actually released a paper themselves around the impact of jobs at the time.
Oh,
was like-
OpenAI.
Yeah, OpenAI released a paper. I think it's on Visual Capitalist. If you type in Visual Capitalist OpenAI jobs or something, there's like a whole like graph of high impact, low impact. And one of them, like on the high impact, like right here, right now, right from GPT technology is like tax preparation, audit.
Thank God, man. I've done like 4 years of tax returns because like I find it like I just get really bored and now like I'm definitely in trouble.
Well, the ATA is listening, so if you want to bleep that, it's all good.
Don't worry, I don't know who are listening.
Oh yeah, Visual Capitalist.
Is this it?
The OpenAI one.
Job
Seekers. Nah, it was like the OpenAI US worker impact. Yeah, from GPT technologies.
Visual capitalist.
But yeah, funny enough, yeah, obviously the low impact is like, yeah, all the things that require dexterity, right? For now. But you're seeing the Tesla bots, right? They're coming.
But like it's like I think it's a good thing because like I mean like most people like are completely nihilistic in the work they do. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like most people are very apathetic in the work they do because like they're
Yeah,
just
sorry.
doing something repetitively and the company isn't innovating. They're just doing something that is purely about money as its own like source of value. And like we're essentially automating like extremely robotic jobs, right? And like humans aren't like robots.
Yeah, dangerous, repetitive, and
But then what are
Boring.
people going to do?
Well, it was the
No,
point.
that's the thing. No, the whole
It's
point
just
is
innovation.
No, yeah, decouple work from income. You can still work.
I
still-
disagree.
you can still work.
I disagree.
Maybe call
No,
it a
no, no, you
vocation.
can still work because look, whatever you find meaning, whatever you're actually passionate
Star Trek
about,
style.
just do it.
Nah,
Continue to
cool.
do it.
I disagree with that.
But you need UBI to actually make sure the allocation of the resources, right, is still there.
But who's going to want to do that? That's the thing. Like,
Who's going to be incentivized?
Yeah,
not everyone will continue to want to work. They can play video games. They can like do shit that they always wanted to.
There's like so
Like, be
many,
lazy,
like,
which is fine.
There's so many poor people in the world. Like there's literally like half the world is in poverty. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
More
can
than
literally focus on
Like,
actual
you think about
things
the
of
people who
actual
can play
value.
video
As,
games.
you know, how many people? How many like I mean, nothing against investment bankers and stuff like that, but I mean, like people work in finance and they're just literally sitting in the stock market trading stocks, right? I mean, like they're literally just making money by playing a game.
Yes, yes. But look, what about this? So you
Number go up.
these people.
Number go up. Yeah.
How many people are just doing just crappy jobs?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
like jobs that are soul crushing. So they would go off and play computer games or just have fun with the family. But there are people who will, you know, push the boundaries of research, going to the moon, you know, science, philosophy, you know, all the rest, and even the creatives like music, art. So it just, you know,
It depends, man. You know, it's like if you could track everything in digital twin in the world, like people always talk about the gender wage income imbalance, right? But like, why does that really occur? And it's because we don't have a way to economically value the work that women do, right?
wow, that's very good.
Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
like,
they did that
and
in
like,
the Aqua
like
book.
obviously caring for people is valuable, right? We just don't pay people who care about people as much as we pay investment bankers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like inherently valuable, and like clearly, like to me, like what this implies, like in my perspective is sort of like, I don't know.
No,
like,
you're right. You're right. Like there was this ARK Invest report, right? It just came out like it was a couple of years ago, but they valued the benefit, the economic benefit of like food prep automation, right? If they were to actually have Uber Eats and have the cloud kitchens automate the food prep, have it delivered on robots, it'll bring it down to like less than the cost of the actual purchase of the goods. At the same time, the opportunity cost of people having to prepare their own food, right, and do it in their own home is actually 3 times more than the actual price of the cost of the food, right?
Yep.
So you're unlocking all that unpaid capital, labor capital, right? So in terms of what the
So
people
you
are
could
doing.
get Uber Eats and have even more free time and save money.
Sponsored by Uber.
Oh,
And-
but like I guess like so I like, you know, I think also like some people like cooking at home and stuff like that, right? And like and yeah, that is an interesting movement. You know, you obviously had like people used to, you know, like it used to be the corner store on a street was like the one that made the most money because of the most foot traffic from two sides, and now like Uber Eats essentially knows in like a geolocation basis like where all the places are to put different places to serve food from, right? And like yeah, it's fascinating. But-
Yeah, you're completely right. Like all that unaccounted for like labor, right? That has not been actually included in GDP, not actually like economically rewarded.
Like child rearing and all.
This is where, you know, the whole UBI argument comes in. It's kind of like, well, it makes sense to actually put a value to that because yeah, otherwise, look, everyone else is, you know, having that opportunity cost and they're choosing one way or the other, but they're getting paid.
It's like the choice, right? I mean, like, I was like, it's like everyone needs to eat, everyone needs to like do basic things to survive, and so like we all value those things. But outside of those things, we make choices, and we make more and more choices as we get away from those things, and those choices are based on our values, right? And like, it would seem to me that like money is like a really good system for like really basic unidimensional value purchase. You know what I mean?
It's an
like-
allocation of resources. That's what it is. That's what money is meant to be for.
Yeah, but
how do you allocate resources?
I suppose it's, I don't know, like I suppose it's also like it's how we like think about like how we value things in general. Like what is valuable, I suppose, is like something we can all decide this is valuable, I suppose.
But that's inherently a human sort of concept, right? Like value in terms of allocating resources makes a lot more tangible sense, right? If you take out the sort of concept of money from the dollar signs and the number go up things, and you just focus on the matter and energy. Like go back to first principles. Right? Matter and energy. How much matter and energy are you going to get? And will the robots create more useful matter and energy for the humans to be allocated?
But it's not just the energy. It's also the it's like a vector. It's the direction of the energy.
Yeah, allocation of the resources.
Is that some people are like all over the place and like they have spent all this energy but they don't get anywhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that valuable. It's not the sort of person.
And resource means like, useful things that,
You're right.
So at the end of the day, it's like, well, if you're going to have a stipend of allocation of these resources, that's what a UBI is meant to be. However, a UBI comes from a handout.
No, but I don't like that. It's dependent.
Exactly. So why would you want? Well, exactly. So ultimately, it's like a way for the billionaires to maintain control, right? So why does Sam Altman like can't sleep at night because he's worried about AGI? Because he's going to automate all the jobs and people are going to have pitchforks on the street with his face on it.
So the UBI is just like a don't die safety net.
They'll pay. Sorry.
Yeah, and then if you like live, let's say you're raising kids, you might get more. If you're doing other stuff, you might get more. Is that possible? I mean, I don't know how.
Maybe they pay you just enough that you can't have kids, but you stay alive and you're happy.
Oh wow,
that's WEF, man.
I know Andrew Yang started talking about that from a pragmatic perspective about like whether does it really need to be UBI or can it be something that achieves fundamentally the same thing?
Yeah.
Like senior citizens.
It should be a citizen dividend. I love the branding because it actually is a dividend because you have this community capital that you should own. Oh, that's communism, isn't it? That's right. No. But at the end of the day, I think the peer-to-peer thing can bring it back to having the individual still have control and having their own way to actually make, power to acquire those allocation of resources. Because if you have your own tiny box, your own agent, that's paired to you, right? And it's automatically upgrading. You're able to make that as powerful as every other box. And that's sort of your right, your human right to be as competitive as every other human being plus their AIs.
The reality is you still have a dependency on the internet. You still have a dependency on like the chip maker. You still have a dependency on like the resources companies to get the stuff out of the ground.
Resource.
You still have a dependency on the power grid. So it's like even if you're owning your own box, like there's still these dependencies.
It's not just a box. It's a box with arms and legs, and it's got a shovel.
No, but you're 100%. I completely agree. Yeah. I think that like it's. I think the concept of it is almost like it's to teach people what their personal property is, if that makes sense. Because like I kind of like I don't know, like part of it is that I agree. I think there's a point.
This whole concept of ownership is like it doesn't reconcile with this future that we're going towards anyway. But yeah, in the meantime, this whole personal I mean, property still.
But even with that, let's say that you had a system like this, right? And you're right about what you're saying. Like fundamentally, the government will have control over the shit, right? Like most likely, right? It's basically what you're saying because like they'll understand what's in the CPU, they understand what's in the box. Like there's no way that like the NSA is not going to be able to go and crack into everyone's boxes, get all the information, right? But like,
not even necessarily that they have access to the information, but to maintain access to your own information, you've got so many dependencies on systems that exist today and will continue to exist.
But shouldn't you have access to the information about yourself, even if everyone else does?
Like morally?
So wouldn't you want that? Don't you want isn't that personal autonomy?
Morally? Yeah, it'd be great to have access to information. But what I'm saying is that there's still people that have to sit in the cobalt mines in Africa to dig that out of the ground to give.
But you got a box with arms and legs and a shovel.
Yeah. Just take human labor and just get rid of it. It's gone.
Like, look, I'm telling you, like these. Have you seen the humanoid robots that are out there now? Like that are in the warehouses doing shit.
Oh right? Yeah, the ones in the Amazon warehouses. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean, like those are the ones that'll got wheels, right? Yeah. They're gonna have legs and they're gonna have to use equipment. So, like, I'm just saying, like, we're talking about convergence. And if you think about time frames, right, what's going to come first? AGI or everything else?
Embodied machines.
Embodied machines, right?
It's like you don't have any that. It's like we can walk places, and in some third world countries where they haven't established motor vehicles properly, like Philippines. You can have
different. Sorry, we took a hat.
I've got a different hat. Matching.
People can be, use their physical ability to walk and run to like cart you around places, right? Yeah. But here, if you say I'm going to walk and I'm going to offer that as a service to transport it, you're not going to earn any money because we have motor vehicles. That ship has sailed. That's gone. Yeah. That's gone. And then everything's going to go. You won't be able to do anything that's economically competitive. once they come in. There won't be a way.
I feel like,
You do it for fun though.
yeah, I mean, like,
I'll still walk for fun and jog.
that's why I found the money idea interesting, because like, and we're talking about echo chambers before, right? And like, you can think about them as like tribes with different like value systems, and like those different like tribes value different things socially, which is its own currency. I don't know. This is like super esoteric and weird, but like, yeah, I'm just going way off here. I don't know. I feel like
It's good exploration. Yeah.
yeah, this is exploring. I feel like I feel like a lot of things can be automated, but then I feel like I don't think, I mean, it would seem to me that it's gonna be a while, I would hope, until AGI develops its own sense of values and its own ability to, like, I don't know, decide what it cares about. Like if it has its own incentives. I mean, it probably will.
It's not going to be just one AGI though, right? It might have like lots of tiny blocks of AGIs. That's what I'm saying. Like, if we can get an open source version of that out there.
I know, yeah. Like,
and
yeah,
will it have legs and a shovel? Like, what do we do? I'm sorry.
As soon as these things start,
tennis
that's
racket.
what you're saying.
Maybe a
Yeah.
tennis racket as well. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
But I suppose the point being that, like, I think there's two questions there. It's like, is there an intermediary layer before we hit AGI where we take advantage of what is very, very intelligent machines that don't have a direction to do things, and to like, and we decide what they do, and we innovate, and we think of things, and like we do that. And then let's say we had a tiny box system, because it would seem to me that like an AGI system would need to have access to real-time information on everything in the world all the time, given the permissioning of like everyone around the world in one giant sort of social graph, one giant graph, right?
Yeah.
That would seem to me like
yeah.
how you would develop a natural AGI.
You're right. Like, we don't have to hit AGI. We should recoin it. We should call it like super useful AI or something like that. You know, like AI that you don't like freaking want to just smack with a tennis racket. Like, you know, it's something that will automate, let's say, 90% of the tasks in jobs.
Yeah, I
Game
feel like we've already got that right now.
yeah, that term AGI is so loose. It's just, you know, we could have already passed it, and people just push it back further. Just
Like, it doesn't need like freaking to monitor the world or have access to all that internet layers and stuff like that.
I think
Just
the
has to
reality,
do the job.
The reality is, as long as we have this level of like the idea that wealth disparity creates more economic opportunity, even if we automate a lot more stuff to gain a competitive advantage over others, and to gain more purchasing power and more ability to gain a life that is disparately better than others, then people will always continue to work.
Yeah, it's the individualist. Yeah, it's right. It's all relative, is basically what you're saying. But it also means that some people don't have to necessarily work because
it's optional. Yeah.
it's optional, because they can have the basic needs met. It's a Maslow thing.
Yeah.
So you hit the point where you self-actualize into a thing that you're passionate about.
Then I'd say that the economic system will actually adjust to make those people not able to
So the value of everything around them will go up, because they were like, look, if you want to work, if you want to live here, because to an extent, you can go to some other country right now and just like live like a king, right?
Like in terms of like the world's got more productive over the past 40 years, but look what's happened to the cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of education.
And that's what continue to happen if like capitalism continues to play its thing. Right?
And that's why this thing, like the idea that that's going to be somehow different when we have the next technology revolution.
That's all we need. That's all we need. The open source, man. That's all we need. The open source.
I totally disagree, but like
the area, what is it, of abundance? The age of abundance.
Yeah, age of abundance,
Age of
man.
abundance.
so like,
Well, that's the thing. It's like, how do we actually get to the Star Trek future?
well, I mean,
Or is that even going
Star
to?
Wars. I like Star Wars.
Yeah, because
But,
Star
like,
Trek is pretty unrealistic. It's like, what the hell are these guys
Star
still
Wars is
exploring space
communism.
as human
It's
meatbags?
Sterile.
Yeah,
Sterile.
yeah.
I was talking to like Rob Morris was talking about what you're talking about, and he gave me like this kind of really cool perspective on it, which was the dude like loves like knights and history, and it was explained to me like, if anyone's read like The Prince, like Machiavelli wrote The Prince, right? And it's essentially about like, okay, if you're a prince, how do you take over a place and like have your dominion over this place, right? And like you know, like there's another book that he wrote, but in essence, the point that he was trying to discuss was this idea, essentially, that like the prince going and killing all the old prince people and like subjugating everyone, so he has complete control and autonomy over everyone, is a fail state. Because it just means the new prince comes along and has to go and repeat the process over and over again. And so he was making a case for like a republic, so where more and more people have a stake in the system, right? And his perspective on what we're talking about around like, okay, in a capitalist system, does this just accelerate these sorts of things? You know, just like do the powerful take these tools and like unleash incredible subjugation? In essence, like a slave system, was that it's the opposite, because like actually it was really,
it's all about scarcity, right? So that's how you have that relative difference in inequality and things like that. Not just about that, but yeah, like as in it's a power play, because at the end of the day, you're like, look, I have more power than you because I have able to, you actually have more influence over the resources and the allocation of power around you. But if you look at that 3D printer right over there that Roy's got right here, like let's say we go back to first principles, okay, at the future of abundance where we have like really useful AI, super useful AI that's able to just create shit, right? That you need. That's how we print it. So you're saying that in that future of relativity, that people will be able to hoard the matter and energy that goes into these 3D printers that make other 3D printers, the fabricated concept from Star Trek, right? Boo. But this is like, how far can we get before that concept breaks down?
I think the concept breaks down really quickly. Yeah.
I'd say how are we going to distribute the potatoes? Like, how does that change?
That's the scarcity again. It's like there's only a certain amount of potatoes.
No, but it's a very...
But we've got a lot of potatoes right now. Most of them probably, likely exist within countries where they just go to waste.
We've got to go to Mars.
Well, I reckon. Okay, so I agree with your point. When it comes down, then these things expand. Like inflation is going to go through the roof, and raw materials.
What we have the issue right now, it's scale, right? It's scale and distribution, right? So scale is like, we have plenty of potatoes, sure, but we can't just grow it over there, right? Like they don't have the means to be able to do that. So if we're able to empower them with these tiny boxes, I don't know, like these AIs that you can actually allocate, this is why we need to open source the tech, because it's software. If it's like software that they can run on their mobile phones, the whole history of the whole, people getting more power in the emerging markets now, right? They have now able to access power, access electricity, access internet with a smartphone. So that's starting to equalize in terms of what they've had before.
But we've had the technology necessary to grow potatoes for like hundreds of years. It's like there's nothing new about this whole...
No, we're getting
make a kind of argument.
Well, poverty is also getting better. Like, it's still bad, right? But it's still bad, but not as bad as it was before. There's been a huge improvement because of this whole abundance movement, right? So it hasn't stayed the same and gotten worse. What I'm saying is that it's getting better, and it's getting better at an accelerating rate. And because we're able to solve that scale and distribution of this technology. Now, if you have open source, super useful AIs that is able to get on the ground and actually help with that scale and distribution, I don't think there is any way that you can have these Machiavelli things stopping them. Because if it's open source, it's harder for the defender to protect against the attackers, right? There's more vectors to be able to get in there if you really wanted to make this available.
Pete's smart.
No, I'm just saying, like, listen, I hope this is right. I hope this is right, but like, I hope this is right, but like,
that sounded right to me. Yeah.
Trying to do a Faraday cage. I don't know, like, if you want to be super evil, Dr. Evil, like.
One way it was put to me, and it's just like, you've definitely turned me on my own argument before with what you're saying, because I do agree. Like, if you look at Bill Gates, there's a reason he's buying up agriculture. It's because like AI is just going to vastly increase, like, so a lot more workers, a lot more people like producing, like it's demand, I would imagine, will go up, right, across the economy. I don't know. Anyway, but the argument Rob Morris made, which I found like really compelling, was like there are multiple different, it isn't just like one thing is changing. It's not just AI is happening.
Singularity, yeah.
But it's not even just forget about AI for a second. Just think about how we communicate, right? Like, and I found this point like really interesting. Like, if we go back in time, right, we used to, if you guys heard of Conway's Law, right? So in Conway's Law, so you have like an organization, the way it communicates is kind of structured in the same way that like kind of like I think the software architecture is organized the way the business processes work, right? But essentially, Conway's law like describes how information is communicated for an organization, right? And so like if we go back to like the 19th century, like the way that we could communicate, like we had, let's say we had to communicate, like, we're all nodes, right? We're all just like little like there's a conductor and there's people dancing, right? And like there was we couldn't communicate very rapidly, so we had to have like one person conducting everybody to dance in time, right? And so like it kind of made sense to have like a monarch, right? Because like if we just had all these different people, like it's more efficient in terms of coordination as a strategy to have like when it takes a long time to communicate information, to have like one like kind of parent thing communicating to the other ones. Then we had like let's say we carrier pigeons, then we had like the telephone, and slowly like the way that society coordinates is changing, right? It's like we have like you know, we all have a bit more autonomy, but then we have like these two different governments, and we have these different people in the government, and they're communicating different information to each of us. And so like, it's a better system because like the ability to communicate has become easier. And then we move forward now, and we've got the internet, right? And then the example given, so what was really good was like you look at the Arab Spring, which was coordinated via Twitter, node to node, person to person. It wasn't coordinated by a centralized authority, right? Right, and that's like really quite fascinating, right? So like I think so where am I going with this? Yeah, so like that's I think that's a really important element of this, because part of these AI tools, what they're going to bring is like at the moment the way we communicate is like via Facebook, blah 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 blah, like via these different things, right? But you can code Facebook like with these AI agents relatively quickly, right? You can code a new messaging platform. You can like make a new way to communicate between different groups of people. You can choose how you communicate in a less filtered way, very, very rapidly, right? And the and like that, I think that's a one important part of this. And then I think, where am I going? I'm trying to tie this back into
barriers of communication start to dissipate.
Yeah, the barriers of communication self-dissipate, but then also so do like the necessity of having a monolithic centralized authority that essentially tells people as a whole what to do. And if you look at like politics now, you look at like the Western world right now is fragmented because people are online. They're pissed off. They're like, some dude's listening to Andrew Tate, someone's like watching the Barbie movie and shit, you know, some dude's like, fuck, you know, like I'm an alpha. Some girl's like, man, fuck men. You know, it's like everybody is like in these little things, right? They're all coordinating into these little tribes because they're talking node to node, right? And like, how do you, and like, I don't think like the government works in the same, like the government seems like it's having a bit of trouble controlling things. It seems like I wouldn't say that's why Donald Trump got elected, but Donald Trump really like without going into US politics, it seems like, you know, like those monolithic structures are breaking down. I think that seems clear. And I think that's an important part of this. And when I think about this AI part of this, it's like, okay, well, they're also automating these repetitive jobs that like these monolithic organizations were packed filled with.
That's right.
And like, but we've also got people communicating because they share values with people and they're aligning around tribes of their values, right? And then like on top of that, okay, so like, I don't know, like, and I put those two elements together, and then I think like, okay, like, I'm trying to like pull my thoughts together from what I was thinking. This does tie together. So then I think about, we're talking about, let's say, housing construction, right? You know, like, don't you think like robotics, don't you think like will definitely make construction much, much cheaper, right? I feel like that'll become a lot cheaper. Don't you think like, you know, like, don't you think the fact that like you can automatically make a Facebook company will mean that like the purpose of investing money in Facebook will decrease? Like just holding onto a company because the company is a monopoly and will like give you dividends.
That's a good example.
Yeah, but Facebook is valuable not because of the Facebook.
It's a network effect, yeah.
People.
Yeah,
So you know, that's a good example. They try to just, I mean, you guys use Threads, right? Like the X, the Twitter copycat thing. Like it was good for a week, right? It got some engagement, and now it's just everyone's like, "What the fuck is Threads?" It's like you don't have that critical mass to actually get it. But this is where it also comes back to the network component, because that's where the value is, and it goes back to your nodes, because nodes and the AI agents, that network is going to be the ultimate value.
I want to just chime in with that AI agent thing. So, Michael, you were talking about how these, we're all going to start communicating more. And Peter, you were talking about how we're going to have AI agents and they're going to be working. So eventually, we're going to have AI agents talking to other AI agents.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then, do you think that at that point, what happened to us in evolutionary terms is going to start happening to the AIs? I mean, we developed greed, jealousy, anger, all of those things through biological competition, because we had to talk to other people. And, let's pick one of them, envy. Okay? Way back, we were in groups, and one person had a better cave or whatever than the other person, and it's like the one that went, man, I want that one.
Pit my cave.
But I sliced the pig.
Envy. And then they were more successful. They had offspring, and now everyone can be envious. So is it the path of the AI that the only AIs left will be the ones that can outcompete other AIs, which means that they can get angry, they can get sad, they can vie for power, just like humans.
Check out my H100 cluster, man. It's like, check out my cribs. Yeah, like to like not anthropomorphize the AIs. Like it could be that, the reward function is more like compute, right? So if they could actually try to compete for more compute, which would give them more power relative to each other, that could actually potentially become a reward function, right? But back to the whole network stuff.
Jesus, that's
like,
so
you're gonna
dystopian.
you have AI agents that will come together as they are already, right? With these auto GPTs, they're coming together as these networks of AI agents to help create a net benefit. 1 + 1 is 3 in that sort of network effect.
Yep.
Because right now, look, if you try to create something good in, say, AI content, AI videos and things like that, like this goes back to the big organizations that you could be like Adobe. You try to incorporate every feature like generative fill, all that stuff that you can do with Mid-Journey, Stable Diffusion, and then you can have there's these video editing tools that embed the talking faces and stuff like that. But what we're seeing now is just users on X tweeting about combining Mid-Journey with Runway Gen 2 to make the beautiful images animated, and then stitching that together using another video software tool that actually creates an awesome trailer. And it's like these features are just popping out like so instantaneously, and it's all free to use because there's free trial concept. So I think all that sort of future value would go towards zero. But at the same time, combining all these different features are going to challenge those monoliths like Adobe. And then you got open source tools like Stable Diffusion with SDXL that's almost competing with Mid-Journey. So you can have free open source versions of these features, and then you have plugins of these open source platforms, and it'll create that monolithic structure that you can have that's free. So take that in terms of AI content generation and put that into the AI agents of networks, then you have subtasks allocated and delegated to those AI agents to actually combine to this larger goal that you set it from the very outset, right? Which is to make number go up. Like that's probably what you put in the goals, right?
It's like I used to love playing Dungeons and Dragons, and my friend Rob Morris is basically making this thing called Hyperbox. I know it's a lame name, but like a Hyperbox thing where you put AI agents in it, and it's like a 2D game, and you automatically generate quests, and then each of the agents basically plays D&D characters, right? And they talk to each other, and they have to like go through this D&D campaign, right? But at the end of it, they actually save. I think on Ethereum blockchain, they made something where it saves the memory state of like what each agent did, and then you play the game over and over and over again, right? But then also like at the same time, so each of these things are in these like virtual boxes, but you can make thousands of these virtual boxes, each doing the same thing at the same time, and then make another language that goes between you can make another currency system that goes between the boxes, right? And so like instead of like in this example, they're playing D&D, and I feel like D&D is such a perfect example of this, right? Because it's like, okay, you got D&D is a language game, Wittgenstein, like
I
language
had a
games.
friend he would play D&D. I hated D&D. And he'd be just rolling the dice going, oh, dexterity, charisma. And I'm like, what? Just write 10 for everything. No, has to roll the dice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's it. Like I feel like D&D is like AGI if you think about it. It's like
Simulation. Yeah.
right, it's interesting, right? It's like what if like we're talking like what if you had a construction company, right? And like we just simulated like we got a couple D&D characters and we turned them into construction workers and we just made like a bazillion different iterations of those things and we made them go through construction quests. Right. And then like we made them keep doing that until they did it they got the most points, they learned things, and when they communicate with each other they developed their own language. Because the language they used was specifically developed for construction. Right. So they could be the best construction workers in the world. Right. And then we'd have to have like a human translator to translate from construction speak or I don't know, like from construction speak back to human lang. But like, like there's no way in hell like when you plug those eventual agents into a robot to do construction work, like I don't even understand what they'll do. They'll probably be doing like somersaults around and stuff, like they're like construction
Boston
ninjas.
Dynamics style. Yeah. Because they're already doing it, right?
Flying between nails or something.
Yeah, dude, it'd be cool. There'd be like one Ant-Man construction dude. He's just like, like that'd be cool. But
How they design those future cities, right? If you have a autonomous agent future city, like how would you design all the infrastructure? Like you wouldn't need roads, right? Obviously, where we go and we don't need no roads. And it's like, you're gonna have huge like freaking hyperloop chambers that just like freaking jettison things from one side to the other.
Oh, wow.
replicate Australia and just like do multiple iterations in Australia with different sorts of government.
Yeah, because you
And
simulate
replicate
boxes.
all the other countries, and
You know what we
see
should do?
happens.
That's it.
We should just
That'd be
fill
cool.
Lake Air and just make just thousands of kilometers of like river systems, kind of like this one, where just everyone just lives along
yeah.
along the coast.
Yeah. You get a water view, and you get a.
You get a water view, and you get a water view.
There's a book. It's really funny. Zara was telling me, my girlfriend was telling me about a book about European geographical constraints. So in Europe we had lots of lots of rivers, and so like when one person worked out how to for example, when one person worked out, oh, this is like how you make fire, right? They would go along the river. It was very easy to get along to all the neighboring tribes and share knowledge. Whereas in other countries, like Africa as an example, it's very hard to get around to different tribes and share knowledge. So everyone had to learn things like by themselves, so to speak, which is really interesting. Anyway, just brought to mind that. But
I'm gonna go to Nigeria at the end of next month in Abuja.
I saw that.
Yeah, Dr. Charles is
You're
the
gonna talk
co-founder of
there.
Transhuman Coin. Yeah, he's running his conference. It's like his homecoming, right? Because that's who he originally born and grew up. And the thing is, like, this is kind of like a mind-blowing experience, right? I'm like, never been there. It's got like a defense security that's like from the government military that's becoming like his private protection bodyguards.
What?
From everywhere. And like,
God.
but the thing is, the government's allocated like some hectares of land for this innovation and education center that he's going to be running. So like, we've got this whole network state coming together, which is one of the things I wanted to talk about, right? So you have these simulations of these different network states, and then the physical states in the meantime needs to still catch up. All right, so this is all like, what's the time frame, the convergence of all these technologies? How is it all going to play out? This is the hardest part, how to put it all together. But if we have these network state for transhuman coin and transhumanism globally, we have a physical place, just like we have in Sydney, to start to actually connect all these nodes of brains, right? We're connecting our brains and building that trust layer, right? And then at the same time, how do we replicate this all the way around the world? And because of these online communities or in currency, our people, places, and laws, we set our own laws through the DAOs, right? So this is where we're heading.
I get it now. Oh, that all clicked in my head like, really well. Oh my, okay, I get it now. Oh my god, I never understood. No, yeah,
We are the hyperbox.
yeah, no, like yeah, okay, so like, because like I suppose like I don't know, I was thinking like religious institutions that people thought of values and propagated our values originally, right? That's really interesting. Yeah, I want to go to Nigeria. It's bullshit.
Yeah. I looked at the Google Maps. I was like, holy shit, they have a cross for river system. They have a cross of a river system. Like, it literally goes from like one side of the country to the next. And then on the diagonal side as well. I was like, holy shit. This is like, just like, in China, it's like the wealth, the good fertility of the land. It's like amazing.
Is that the Yangtze?
And it's all about, well, how do you actually make sure that you can thrive in that environment, right?
I feel like it's like
Like a Yangtze, yeah.
from what I've heard, like you'd know more about this. Like, is Bitcoin spreading like super hard there? Like in Nigeria, like because like it would,
They
like
got the e-naira, right? So the government's tracking down on crypto, but at the same time, then they can't, and they can't really enforce it. That's the thing.
so fascinating, right? It's fascinating that like they can leapfrog our a banking system, right? Which our banking system may actually hold us back,
Didn't
right?
the Reserve Bank start their crypto last month, or was it last year?
Yeah, the
Oh, they started
CBDC
the
pilot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Oz DeFi guys that we're working with, like they're doing one of the pilots called trade flows, so the construction people can get paid on time at the point of the assignment. So it just goes into, instead of setting up an entire like fund for it and an escrow, just baked into the smart contract of the CBDC.
That's cool. I mean, like I just don't like the idea of like I don't know. There'd be very obvious downsides to that. I mean, like
Yeah.
you would ideally not want money to be controlled by the government, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look at CBA. Like that's what happens when you put your fiat into a bank. They just go, look, max is you can put 10K to crypto per month.
Yeah.
Like that's
gosh,
we
they
tell
said
you
that.
what you can do with your money, right?
Well, that's also like I was
Yeah.
thinking when I was thinking about. I started like I drew like all these designs for like a box on my wall, and then I was thinking like it's really fascinating that like the crypto wallets are like so lame, and like so difficult to use. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like do you want to use Xeno? It's like what like you know what I mean? It's I don't know.
PayPal, man, just use PayPal. It's got the pay USD.
Well, I don't know. It's like yeah, it
PayPal's
would
got a
be-
stable coin. They just released it.
I like Bitcoin personally.
Yeah.
I just like the
But
idea.
you can guess what? You can swap the stable coin for the Bitcoin. It's the on ramp.
There's so many steps to that, man. It's just like
No, it's all in PayPal. They're going to enable transfers and like swaps within the app.
I used to do ecom and just go very terribly, and PayPal sucks. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
PayPal
like,
sucks.
They like
But
always,
it's PayPal and they're embracing it. So think about what all the other companies are going to do.
oh yeah, that's true. Was looking at what is it, BlackRock? Yeah, BlackRock, and they're making the Bitcoin ETF.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, trust them to be the first across the line, eh?
they control the line.
We should make our own ETF.
Yeah,
It's on like just transhuman stuff. Put on this hat, which you can get at
This is-
Crotatious.com.
This is the one.
Sugar free Kirk CTF.
Sugar-free Coke.
Limited supply.
But I'm pretty sure
Maybe
we've
not.
had our annual intake of sugar tonight.
There's no sugar.
There's no
No
sugar.
sugar.
Oh, genius.
Yeah,
Nice.
Love it.
it's that- yeah, none of
No one you were
none of
sculling it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
looked at the
yeah.
Matrix.
That's
When's
good.
the Matrix
So
coming?
good.
the Matrix.
Yeah,
Matrix
I
is here,
can
man.
Just, put on superhero mode and just fly everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I don't
Personalized jetpacks are making some progress, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mainly the air regulations that hold them back. But
Yeah. And plus all the.
technology,
Bro,
all the
that's so
noobs.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's-
when you're in virtual reality, you can just fly,
Exactly.
right?
That's why we need the input side for brain computer interface.
BCI.
Just like simulate it, man.
Do you guys ever play World of Warcraft and like you play the rogue and then like someone will leave like the character in AFK and you'll come up and like it's called ganking in the game. But like you wait until they go FK, then you go and murder them. You know what I mean?
World of Warcraft, that brings back so many memories. Like, build more farms.
Don't do that.
Something you
doing?
We're bringing it back.
Zug zug.
No matter, man.
Yes, me lord.
Sell the world, they said.
Oh, good.
Yeah, dude.
And that's the like the outside the simulation that the game they're playing, they're looking at us and going, these guys.
That's
Those
what
LLMs are talking again.
That's what we're going to be doing. We're
Yeah.
just going to be clicking, well, not clicking with the mouse, but just telling the robot, yeah, go build the land factory over there and give me an engineer.
Yeah, you saw that Palantir demo of what they're deploying over in Ukraine in terms of how
defense
they're controlling all the drones. It felt like an RTS, man. That was StarCraft right there. You can send the drone over there, drop the bomb there. Oh, jeez. Enemy spotted. It's like,
Well, it's funny because a guy I used to play StarCraft with works at Palantir now.
yeah, exactly. That's it, man.
It's like, this works perfectly. It's like,
Exactly.
why do you think you're fit for this job?
Exactly.
Man, I used to play StarCraft.
Why do you think they train Alpha Star, man? That's it.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
gosh.
just AI controlling everything.
Palantir is fucking terrifying, man. Like, I mean, like,
American exceptionalism.
well, no.
How many companies are we going to shit on this podcast?
Just go down the list.
Terrifying.
Just go down the list.
I just don't like. I'm against the man. I'm against the man. And like new age communism. No, but it's
good money.
What is it? I don't think it. I think like I really like his name. Like that dude. The
Aimbot.
guy that made Peter Thiel. Like
Yeah.
he's like obviously a very switched on dude, and I don't know, the idea. It seems like Palantir was kind of made to be like the first like big AI company. Almost. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Like I was like, I don't know, the analogies of Lord of the Rings and stuff. Like I don't know. I was like, we're talking about this in like group chat.
Oh yeah, he's a corruptible.
Well, it was cool, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's like.
But go through so like everyday people are the hobbits, is it?
So basically, my girlfriend read Lord of the Rings recently because she has to hear me obsessively talk about AI all the time, right? And she's trying to understand me, right? And she's like, I guess I'm gonna have to read Lord of the Rings because like I don't understand the analogies you're making.
That is a dedicated girlfriend. Congratulations.
Yeah, I know, right? Anyway, and so she's like reading this, right? And so like, which is really nice. And so, and it's like, it's quite interesting when you read it, she's explaining it to me. And so like, literature analysis, basically like, orcs, one character, like what orcs are is kind of like an analogy for like slavery and what slavery does to like a culture of people, or to a people and its culture. And like, basically it destroys their culture, it destroys their values, and it turns them into like, you know, something like
Pure hatred.
pure hatred and like something that's like controlled. And like,
Because they used to be elves.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't know that. No way.
Yeah.
Orcs used to be
like-
elves.
There you go. Well, and then like you think about, you know, the One Ring, right? And the One Ring is like this like thing that's incredibly enticing, right? It's like,
Credit card.
you know what I mean? You really want it. It has all this power. It has all this power.
precious.
Like,
Yeah, my precious platinum.
yeah, do you know what I mean? Right? You know what I mean? It's like, it's this promise of power, and like, and in from memory, in like the like my dad really liked Lord of the Rings. You have these minor rings. So all the characters in Lord of the Rings, like Aragorn, Gandalf, and stuff, they have these minor rings, which are kind of like, they give you these extra powers. You know, like, however, if like this larger ring ever gets taken by Sauron, the minor ring will like mean that you will become his servant. You'll become enslaved to him and become like basically like one of these Nazgûl, right? And you know, like, and it's so difficult for like, you know, Sauron, I think it's Galadriel can't even look at the ring, right? Because like when she looks at it and like it's so tempting, that idea of power. And obviously Galadriel's this person who has power, right? So all these powerful people cannot hold on to this ring, right? Because like people who have power like pursue power, right? So like these hobbits, right, who are almost like these happy people, they're not seeking out power. They're just like your average everyday person that just wants to live, right? They're really the only people that can hold on to this ring because they're not seeking out power.
There's
right?
another term for everyday people. And that was mentioned in Blade Runner. He goes, "Don't you walk out that door, pal. If you ain't a cop, you're little people."
Ah, little people. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, there you go. Yeah, this guy. Oh my
Where
god.
the quotes?
But the interesting thing is like you have these three characters. You have like, yeah, even that they can't hold on to it, but it isn't because they're seeking power, right? It's like Gollum has this ring, and Gollum is also Smeagol, And Golem isn't like trying to like overpower people. He doesn't like become like a god. He's just addicted to it. He's an addict, right?
Yeah.
And in his addiction, like he loses himself, and like it's interesting. You even like watch like the movie, and
It's
like
unrecognizable.
Yeah.
right, you watch the movie, and like and he's like, you know, like you feel bad for the dude. Like he feels betrayed. He wants to not be an addict anymore, but he doesn't want to be a bad person. It's like, yeah, sometimes bad guy, not just bad guy, you know what I mean? But like he doesn't want to be this bad person, but he's become addicted to this ring, right? And like to me, that's like very like it's this analogy for social media, and like I mean like I think addiction, yeah, like addiction is a large problem in society in so many different ways, right? I think it's an interesting analogy. Yeah, what's it going with this? Oh yeah, and basically like I just found it fascinating because obviously Palantir comes from Lord of the Rings, right?
Oh, that's right.
The crystal ball.
It's the crystal ball that
Yeah.
Sauron man looks through because he wants to take control of the One Ring. So Sauron man he doesn't actually want to align with Sauron, right? He wants to take control of the One Ring for himself, right? But the issue that Sauron man comes across is he forgets about the trees. The trees get pissed off at him, and then the trees come and they beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, not the trees, not the trees.
The Ents.
The ants, right?
Ents,
Like global warming, right?
Yeah.
But
It's China, is it?
But I don't know. But Sauron is like, to me, like the idea of like the rings. It's like the story is like, will man survive as like human beings? Basically, like is there gonna be human autonomy, right? Or it will be the world of like Sauron, which is kind of like AGI. It's like this one master who enslaves everyone and turns them into orcs, right?
Wow, that's very...
and I think like you know, it's interesting that like the guy that built Palantir, who was first investor in Facebook, who was the CEO and the first founder of PayPal.
Yeah.
You hear Peter Thiel spoke about, he was one of the first investors in one of the first versions of Bitcoin called Eagle Coin. The founders of which, I think it was 1995, it was online gold, were all
Eagle.
imprisoned by the CIA.
Yeah.
You know, interestingly. I wonder why the guy didn't tell. I wonder why Satoshi didn't tell us his name, right? But,
Hey.
you know, it's fascinating.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Lord of the Rings is cool. It's basically it. Anyway, it's like fantasy.
I like how it's called
Wow.
Middle Earth, and just refers to just the middle. And in Norse mythology, it's called Midgard.
Yeah, Midgard. And in Chinese, it's 中国. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, middle country.
Is it?
Middle country.
Yeah.
Holy...
中国人. Yeah.
I am middle country man.
Yeah.
Just a little guy.
Zhongren? I can't remember. Yes.
Apparently, one of my friends said that my name was Eat Rice. So, and then I didn't believe him. And then one of my other friends, he just says my name as before he's about to eat. He goes, "All right, chauffeur." I'm like, okay, that's true then.
What up, Chi? It's Mr. Fan to you, man.
Probably not a bad name though. It has something to do with prosperity, right? It's
Yeah, Chi, man.
eat rice.
You can Chi.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Chinese.
There you go.
It's so much cooler than Western.
They're gonna have the singularity, like I was saying. Like they're gonna have the singularity in China for us, man. Have you seen like
They have the singularity. We'll have.
look at the large language models. Get a lifearchitect.ai. I was catching up with with Dr. Allen yesterday. Yeah,
Yes.
sorry we didn't record the chat, but he was like, yeah, man, I've been tracking all the models. The ones that are coming out of China, there's LLMs, man, and that's the reported ones, right? It's like
Because
They
they have
just
the graph.
And they record.
We have to build.
Sorry.
Oh,
yeah, man.
Wow.
Well, we don't have to do anything. We're just gonna make sure we know
they
what to
have.
do.
They basically have.
Enjoy the
tiny
next
box
5
system.
years, man. I'm telling you.
They have the tiny box system, which collects all the data from people in an ontological way, which means that like they're able to build a really good because it's built into how they actually manage. Because okay.
The Great Firewall of China is just one big box.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. That's interesting. There you go. Yeah, except it's like the opposite way that you would want to do it. It's literally. Oh, I get it. Yeah, they're like Sauron. Yeah. Yeah, that's terrible.
If Palantir was a country.
I mean, no, but they're not at all. You know what I mean? But like,
So is the eye the metaphor for Big Brother always looking at you?
The orb.
The orb.
The orb.
Get orbed.
Yeah.
Get Sauron.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I don't know.
Get your handouts, man.
It is pretty weird. It's like I mean it's creative, like the orb thing. They're gonna scan your pupils, you know.
Yeah, man.
I feel like there was an easier way to do stuff. I mean, it's very like
It's the least worst thing they can do, right? That's the thing, right? Like it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. It is one data point. Like if we don't like it, we don't use it. But if we want to, we can incorporate it into a larger graph.
Didn't Bo say he wants to do an emergent? They're thinking of doing an emergent identity of many data points.
Yeah. Identity is a spectrum. So, like, they had so many experiments of this, like, proof of humanity, where you like vouch for other people on chain and be like, look, yeah.
I think if you just have enough data point, if you just have like, surely like, there's enough information about me online that like when I like go somewhere, that you could just like have a model that like verifies that I'm like 99.95% accurate in line with the model they have of who I am anyway. I don't see the point of the pupil.
Yeah. That's all right. This will be part of the graph. Like us putting this online, right? For the future, you know,
video.
basilisk that's, you know, appease you. We're accelerationists, okay? We're helping make it happen. Effective accelerationists. And, you know, this will contribute to it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
All right.
I think we're good, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think we're putting ourselves to sleep.
I
We're
need
good
a
at
vape. I need a
Quotations.com for these transhuman Australia hats.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, gotta do an outro, right? Yeah.
That's it.
Something.
Well,
That was awesome. Thanks, guys.